Once upon a time, there was a beautiful princess named Snow White. She lived in a castle with her father, the king, and her stepmother, the queen. Snow White was kind, loving and fair to everyone, but the queen was very jealous of her beauty. The queen was so jealous that she wanted to get rid of Snow White. So, one day, the queen sent a huntsman to take Snow White deep into the woods and leave her there. But Snow White was very clever and kind. She noticed the huntsman seemed hesitant and asked him what was wrong. He told her that the queen had sent him to take her into the woods and leave her there. Snow White knew she had to run away and fast. As she was running, she came across a cottage deep in the woods. She knocked on the door and a group of 7 friendly dwarfs answered. They were named Bashful, Doc, Grumpy, Happy, Sleepy, Sneezy, and Dopey. They welcomed her into their home and took care of her. Snow White told them what had happened and they knew they had to protect her from the queen. Snow White lived with the dwarfs and they became great friends. They had many adventures together and Snow White was very happy with her new family. They went on a treasure hunt, they went fishing, they even built a treehouse together. Snow White loved her new family and they loved her too. The queen eventually found out where Snow White was living and came up with a plan to harm her. She disguised herself as an old woman and went to the dwarf's cottage, where she gave Snow White a poisoned apple. But the dwarfs were very protective of Snow White and didn't let her eat the apple. They told the old woman to leave and warned Snow White to be careful. The queen realized that her jealousy and envy had led her to try to harm an innocent girl. She felt guilty and ashamed of her actions. She went to the dwarf's cottage to apologize and asked for forgiveness. Snow White, being the kind and fair princess she is, forgave her and welcomed her back to the castle. From that day on, Snow White, the 7 dwarfs and the queen lived happily ever after. They became a big and loving family, and Snow White's kindness, fairness and love brought happiness to everyone around her. Snow White's beauty was not just on the outside, but on the inside as well, and that's all that mattered. The moral of the story is that kindness and fairness will always win over jealousy and envy, and that true beauty is not just what we see on the outside but on the inside too. Love and forgiveness can change everything.